The night that changed Amityville forever. Before we begin, remember, stories like this don't end when the video fades. If this one chills you to your bones, hit subscribe before the next story finds you first. It was just after 3 a.m. on November 13, 1974, when the quiet town of Amityville, Long Island, was ripped from its sleep. A single white Dutch colonial house stood against the dark sky, its windows shaped like half-moons staring over Ocean Avenue. Inside, something unspeakable had already happened. 6 people, a mother, a father, and 4 children, were lying dead in their beds. No one had called for help. No one had screamed. When police arrived, they were met by 23-year-old Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr., the only surviving member of the family. His clothes were stained, his face pale. He told officers, "They're all dead, my family." As they moved through the house, officers were struck by the stillness. No broken glass, no signs of struggle. Every victim had been shot where they slept, the rifle still resting quietly in the corner of a room upstairs. Neighbors swore they never heard gunfire, even though the weapon had no silencer. Every clock seemed to have stopped at the same hour, every bed neatly made, as if time itself froze in that home. The question echoing through Amityville was terrifyingly simple. How could an entire family die in silence? Within days, the truth would begin to surface, and it would reveal something far darker than anyone imagined. The day after the discovery, Amityville's peaceful streets turned into a storm of flashing lights and whispered rumors. Reporters gathered outside the White House as detectives searched for a reason. Anything that could explain why Ronald DeFeo Jr. had walked room to room, taking the lives of his entire family. When questioned, he looked exhausted, almost detached, insisting that someone else had done it. But his story kept changing. A few hours later, he confessed. "It was me," he said quietly. Then, almost in a whisper, he added something that froze the detectives. "Once I started, I couldn't stop. It was like someone was inside me, a voice telling me what to do." That statement spread through Long Island like wildfire. Some believed he was trying to avoid punishment. Others believed something unexplainable lived inside that house, something that made him do it. But what struck investigators most was the precision of the killings. The victims were all face down in their beds, as if placed there afterward. None showed signs of waking up. No neighbors heard a sound, though the rifle blasts should have shaken the street. When the case went to trial, DeFeo's lawyers argued insanity. The prosecution said he was simply evil. But among the police, a quiet rumor began. The house itself didn't feel right. Cold spots, creaks when no one moved, sudden power flickers during evidence collection. Details small enough to ignore, yet hard to forget. And then came the twist. Barely a year later, another family bought the same house. And that's when the real horror began. In December 1975, just 13 months after the murders, George and Kathy Lutz moved into 112 Ocean Avenue with their 3 children. The price was shockingly low. The realtor warned them of the home's past, but they believed love and faith could overcome the shadow of tragedy. They even kept some of the previous family's furniture, unaware that some pieces still carried the scent of gunpowder and old grief. At first, it was peaceful. Snow covered the roof, Christmas lights glowed in the windows, and for a brief moment, the Lutz family felt safe. But that feeling didn't last. George began waking up every night at 3:15 a.m., the same time police believed the murders had occurred. He'd wander through the freezing house, claiming he heard footsteps above him, faint whispers through the vents. The family's dog refused to go near the basement, growling at something no one could see. Kathy felt unseen hands brush her shoulders when she was alone. Crucifixes on the wall turned upside down overnight. A foul odor crept through the air, vanishing whenever guests came. The children spoke of a strange friend they called Jody, who appeared only to them, eyes glowing red in the dark. Friends told them stress was making them imagine things. But George and Kathy knew what they felt: the heaviness, the fear, the sound of something breathing just beyond sight. On the 28th night, They fled the house barefoot in the cold, leaving behind their clothes, their furniture, and their sanity. They never went back. And what they left inside that house might never have left at all. After the Lutz family fled into the frozen night, the house sat empty, watching. Reporters swarmed Ocean Avenue, filming the eerie windows and the for sale sign that no one dared to answer. The Lutzes claimed the walls oozed with stench, that doors slammed by themselves, and that shadows moved even when the lights were on. Their story spread fast, a family terrorized by unseen forces in a home already stained with blood. Skeptics called it a hoax. Some said the Lutzes had invented everything to sell a book. Yet those who visited the house spoke differently when cameras turned off. A priest who came to bless the home admitted he felt something push him, warning him to get out. Investigators who entered found strange temperature drops, rooms that smelled like death 1 minute and flowers the next, and windows that shut by themselves with unnatural force. As the years passed, paranormal teams, journalists, and filmmakers all tried to capture what lingered there. Some left convinced it was haunted. Others said fear itself was the haunting, that the memory of the murders had soaked into the walls. Even when the address was changed and the windows remodeled, people driving past still swore they saw movement behind the glass. No matter how many times new owners repainted or rebuilt, the story refused to die. The town of Amityville learned something chilling. You can change the house, the number, even the name. But you can't erase what happened inside those walls.
Years passed, but the legend of the Amityville house only grew darker. The book, The Amityville Horror, hit shelves in 1977, and soon Hollywood came calling. The movies turned the house into a symbol of evil itself. But behind every scream on screen was a real address, a real family, and 6 real graves. The question people still ask isn't whether the house was haunted by ghosts, but whether it was haunted by memory. George and Kathy Lutz stood by their story until their deaths, saying they'd never lied about what happened inside that house. Skeptics, priests, investigators, everyone tried to separate truth from fear, but no one ever proved either side wrong. Some owners after them reported peace, while others quietly sold and left without explanation. Even now, locals say that when night falls and the wind blows from the bay, the house creaks as if something inside still stirs. Ronald DeFeo Jr. died in prison in 2021, never giving a clear reason for what he did. The motive, the silence of that night, the way each victim stayed asleep, all of it remains unsolved in spirit if not in law. The murders were real, the fear was real, and the legend refuses to fade. To this day, 112 Ocean Avenue stands as more than wood and brick. It's a reminder that sometimes the most terrifying hauntings aren't ghosts at all. They're the echoes of what humans leave behind. Ode. The house on 112 Ocean Avenue looks almost ordinary. The famous quarter-moon windows are gone, replaced by square panes meant to disguise its identity. The street name has changed too, but visitors still find it. Cars slow down outside its gate. Phones rise for quick photos, and then they drive away in silence. Neighbors avoid talking about it, tired of curious strangers asking the same question. Do you ever hear anything at night? The current owners live quietly, keeping curtains drawn, determined to prove that a home once soaked in terror can be normal again. But behind that calm facade lies a history that refuses to fade. The facts of the 1974 murders are clear. Ronald DeFeo Jr. used his father's .35 caliber Marlin rifle, shooting each family member as they slept. Police arrived after his frantic call for help and discovered the unthinkable. 6 victims, each face down, with no sign of struggle. Experts later said that sedatives or sheer shock might explain the silence that night. In court, DeFeo admitted to the killings but claimed he heard voices urging him on. Psychiatrists debated whether it was psychosis or manipulation, but the jury found him guilty of 6 counts of murder. He would spend the rest of his life behind bars, dying in 2021, never giving a clear reason why. A year later, When George and Kathy Lutz moved in, the line between fact and fear began to blur. Their 28 days inside turned into books, interviews, and movies that made Amityville a household name. Investigators later questioned the accuracy of their account, pointing to contradictions and missing evidence. Yet others who entered the home described sudden chills, odd smells, or the sensation of being watched. Whether imagination, suggestion, or something unexplained, it was enough to keep the story alive. As the decades passed, Amityville became less about ghosts and more about the human mind. Psychologists say stories like this thrive because they touch our deepest fears, that evil can hide in ordinary places, that a home can hold on to pain. Each visitor, each filmmaker, each storyteller adds another layer to the myth, until it feels as if the house itself breathes through their words. The real haunting may not be supernatural at all. It might be the way tragedy echoes through memory. Locals still say the atmosphere around the house changes at night. The air feels heavier, as if the walls remember. Some claim to hear faint knocking when the wind picks up. Others dismiss it as imagination. But even skeptics admit one truth. No matter how much paint covers those walls, no one can erase what happened inside. The DeFeo family's story, the Lutz's flight, the world's obsession, all of it became part of the house's identity, a legend that will never truly sleep. Nearly 50 years later, Amityville stands as both a crime scene and a cautionary tale. It reminds us that horror doesn't need monsters, just people, secrets, and silence. Whether you believe the haunting was real or not, something dark remains in that story. A warning about what fear can do, what guilt can create, and how stories themselves can trap us. And if you ever drive past that quiet street at night, you might notice one small detail that the locals never mention. Sometimes, even now, a single upstairs light glows long after midnight, flickering once, then fading to black. If this story kept you awake tonight, subscribe before the next one finds you first.